1965 was the year that Social Security got into the business of health insurance. The last major changes came in 1983, when benefits and taxes were adjusted to help generate surpluses in the program and to build up Social Security's substantial trust fund. That's the same fund that's now at risk. It was originally meant only to log a worker's earnings over their lifetime in order to calculate their retirement benefits.
So the government is in this situation where they can't get out of, and that is Social Security. And I know many of you watching my videos believe that Social Security benefits may not be around by the time you retire, but there are some solutions in place. The government just doesn't want to act on it, any of it, because for one, we are in the election year, and two, they don't see it as a problem until 2032 when Social Security actually can't pay the full benefits starting in the year 2033. The focus in this election year so far has been on government spending. The federal government spending is voted on by Congress every year, which has three separate categories: mandatory spending, discretionary spending, and supplemental spending. Social Security is a part of mandatory spending, and we are paying into our Social Security, so we have the right to get that money back one way or the other, right?
Well, this is stupid, and I want my money back. Where's the money?
And if you take a look at how our government spending in the fiscal year 2024 is categorized, Social Security is by far the largest spending out of every category, and it makes up 22% of the total spending, followed by healthcare with 14%, national defense with 14%. This is public data, so you can view this on the Treasury website. But many Americans, including myself, are concerned that the government is spending at a deficit of more than $800 billion just in 2024. That is $106 billion more than the national deficit of $723 billion in the previous year. A deficit basically means that the government is spending more than it takes. Think of how an average American takes out debt to pay for something they can't afford. And I've been there, done it, and will never do it again. But the difference between the government and I is that they can essentially print money or borrow money to spend it. My generation may not pay for it, but the future generations will. This is also what's called fiscal irresponsibility by the federal government. And before I get into the potential solutions to solving Social Security, let me show you what the two main presidential candidates are saying and what they're going to do. And I'm not by any means saying that I'm siding with anyone, but just sharing what they're saying they want to do with Social Security. Neither one of these candidates will truly have to deal with this problem until two more elections in 2032. But I believe that we need to start solving these problems now. They also don't want to anger any voters because most voters are over the age of 50. But anyway, President Biden believes there should be no cuts to the benefits at all. The latest budget proposal did not provide a detailed plan for Social Security, but called for congressional negotiations based on his principles not to cut any benefits at all. Biden's position is focused on increasing payroll taxes to make up for the coming shortfall. And how much that's going to be increased was not stated in the budget plan. And at the time I'm recording this video, the payroll tax is still 6.2% of your gross earnings. Biden seems to be focused on the millionaires and billionaires, but increasing payroll tax is actually going to hurt the middle class the most. The income cap for the payroll tax is $168,600. So people making over $170,000, or the top 15% of income earners in the US, will end up paying more in payroll tax. It's easy to say we should tax the millionaires, but if you really look into how the payroll tax is structured, and because it's regressive tax system or a flat tax system, individuals making $160,000 or more will end up paying more in payroll tax, not just the millionaires. President Trump, on the other hand, proposes that the government needs to manage entitlements better. And he didn't say that he wanted to cut the benefits or entitlements, but he did state that the government needs to have a better management system. And he wants to increase tax revenue by investing in oil drilling to help pay off the national debt. You probably heard from the Democrats that Trump is cutting Social Security, but what he actually said was he wants those entitlements under better management, and he wants to cut other entitlements while maintaining the Social Security program. That's it. And again, I'm not trying to side with any candidates here, but just to tell you what they all said. And if Trump gets elected in November, He knows that Social Security and Tax Cuts and Jobs Act are going to be debated in Congress in 2025, but it's going to depend on who controls the House and who controls the Senate. By the way, did you know that over 50% of Americans who make over $100,000 a year are living paycheck to paycheck? So is it always an income problem or a spending problem? If you're having trouble figuring out your budget, I encourage you to download a budget app called YNAB. YNAB stands for You Need a Budget. That's right. Whether you make $50,000 a year or $200,000 a year, every one of you needs to create a budget to achieve financial independence. You need to give every dollar a job so that you can be more intentional with your savings and spending. You can get a free trial without any credit card information by using the link in the description below. And let me show you how Social Security is currently funded. And Social Security has two trust funds, one for retiree benefits and one for disabilities. As of right now, we have more coming into Social Security than what's going out. In 2023, the US government spent $1.4 trillion just on Social Security, which made up 21% of the federal budget for 49 million retirees, averaging about $1,800 a month. This is after the federal government increased Social Security benefits by 8.7% due to rising inflation from the third quarter of 2022. And that's how the cost of living adjustment, or COLA, is calculated. And they look at the third quarter results of CPIW and its year-over-year increase. So the payroll tax was 12.4% on wages up to $160,200 back in 2023. And keep in mind that the payroll tax is split between your employer and you as an employee. I'm a business owner, so I have to pay 12.4% in payroll tax as both an employer and an employee. And if you're a W-2 employee, you're going to pay 6.2% of your gross earnings directly to Social Security, while your employer pays another 6.2% of your gross earnings to Social Security. That makes sense so far, right? So if you earn more than $160,000 in earnings as an individual, you don't pay any more Social Security once you hit that income limit. In 2024, the income limit is $168,600, and it goes up by inflation annually based on CPIW. In 2023, our government collected a total of $1.6 trillion in payroll taxes. And keep in mind that they spent $1.4 trillion just on 49 million retirees. So out of that $1.6 trillion in payroll taxes, about 89% came directly from the workers. And that would be you and me and everybody who has FICA written on their jobs, right? 8% came from the interest that accrued inside the Social Security trust funds. Why? Because the government borrowed against Social Security. That's a topic for another day. Anyway, the trust fund earns interest on special issue US government securities with a low yield interest because it's a very low risk investment. The government doesn't want to invest in something that is too risky for our retirement, right? And the remaining 3% came from taxes on Social Security benefits. That's right. When you retire and start collecting Social Security, you have to pay taxes on the Social Security benefits. And out of all that money, about 84% goes to retirees and their survivors, 15% to disabled workers, and the remaining 1% to administrative costs. Because of the income cap, high income earners get way less in Social Security benefits than what they earn throughout their lifetime. And the real problem is when the number of retirees continues to increase every year. Because like the Social Security Administration says, starting in the year 2034, they're only going to have enough to pay roughly 80% of benefits to the retirees because there will be many more retirees and fewer workers. And I talked about the worker to retiree ratio in last week's video, but essentially there won't be enough payroll taxes coming into Social Security. So let me go over the 5 solutions that are both popular and unpopular. And I'm going to say these in the most unbiased way possible based on all the research and ideas I found. So solution number 1 is to decrease the retirement benefits. Obviously, this is going to be very unpopular for retirees or people close to their retirement age, right? If Congress doesn't take any action by the year 2033, the Social Security retirement benefits will be reduced by 80%. They don't have a choice. So if you're making $2,000 a month, your retirement income could go down to $1,600 a month. And that would be very significant and make a lot of people angry. And I would bet that a lot of people would not get reelected to Congress by the year 2036. So solution number 2 is to raise the minimum retirement age a lot sooner than what the current legislation says. There are several proposals in place from the National Commission on Retirement Policy in favor of raising the retirement age to 70 by the year 2029 and increasing it in the future by 2 months every 3 years. This could also trigger the rule changes for Medicare, but I'll talk about that in another video. So be sure to subscribe if you haven't done already. But this is another unpopular solution that might become inevitable. And we all saw what happened in France when they raised the minimum retirement age, right? It wasn't good. So solution number 3, either change the payroll tax from 6.2% to something higher, or make it a progressive tax system like our income tax. The payroll tax is a flat tax because it's always been 6.2% since before I was born, right? And there are some proposals to change the payroll tax to a progressive tax system like our federal and state income taxes to increase the contributions. For example, if you make 0 to 150,000, then you pay 6.2% in payroll tax. If you make $150,000 to $200,000, then you pay 7.5%. And if you make $400,000 or more, then you pay 8 or 9% or something like that. However, this would be very highly unpopular for small businesses because employers would most likely match the higher increases. Like I said earlier in this video, as a self-employed individual, I have to pay 6.2% as an employee and another 6.2% as an employer to run my financial coaching business and post videos on YouTube. You can always schedule your first session with me for free by visiting firestarchat.com/coaching if you're looking to achieve financial independence. So that leads to solution number 4, which is a bit more popular than the first 3 solutions, and that is to completely remove the income cap for the payroll tax. In 2024, the maximum income cap for the payroll tax is $168,600. That means that the maximum Social Security you could contribute is $10,453.20, or almost $21,000 if you're a self-employed individual. But here's the big but. Removing the payroll tax income cap could become the largest tax increase in US history, with almost 55% in combined federal marginal and effective tax rates. So based on the Social Security benefit calculation, they would have to pay high income earners much higher in benefits when they retire unless they change the formula. It's popular because the narrative in politics is that you're making the rich pay more payroll tax. But the reality is that most billionaires don't pay payroll tax anyway because they just live on their investments. The long-term capital gains tax doesn't come with a payroll tax at all. And this leads to solution number 5, which is to add a percentage of payroll tax for investment income. Is that going to go well? Probably not. If employers are required to pay a certain percentage of payroll tax for realized gains, people are likely to have less confidence in the stock market or have fewer advantages to invest in the stock market. Shrinking profit margins for those large corporations could potentially make them use overseas workers or even move to another country that doesn't require them to pay Social Security taxes, right? So no matter which one we choose, there's no good solution to our Social Security problem. Over half of Americans are relying on Social Security benefits, and those retirees are relying on workers to contribute to Social Security. Anyway I see it, there's going to be a tax hike coming for our generation and the ones after. And while you're in the accumulation phase of your investment journey, you have to plan that Social Security might not be enough to pay for your retirement expenses. And I have all of my financial resources for you to download for absolutely free by visiting firestarchat.com/resources. Am I relying on Social Security to retire? Absolutely not. And I use my financial independence checklist to invest in my Roth IRA, HSA, 401k, and taxable brokerage account with dividend and growth investing. And I have been consistently saving and investing in index funds, ETFs, and some individual stocks. I've always set aside at least 25% of my gross income towards my retirement. I also save and invest more in my non-retirement accounts to achieve financial independence. None of this would have been possible if I hadn't paid off my $110,000 in consumer debt back in late 2015. If I'm being completely honest, I don't think anything will get done with Social Security until the election year in 2028. that's just how the government operates, and nobody in Congress wants to touch this problem right now because it is a sensitive subject. And not to mention that most voters come from Americans over the age of 50 and they're close to retirement age. So let me know in the comment section down below what you think the solution should be for our Social Security program. And this has been another beast of a video, and I hope you got a lot out of it.